Here's a heartfelt, engaging story based on your title. She was a CEO who would change his life forever, written to fit a smooth narrative for an approximately 15-minute YouTube video with emotional depth, strong challenges and resolutions, and an inspiring message by the end. He never saw her coming, not in the boardroom, not in a coffee shop, not on a rainy Thursday afternoon when his whole world felt like it was falling apart. Damian Carter had spent most of his adult life convinced of one thing: hard work and quiet persistence would be enough to build the life he wanted. At 35, he'd tried almost everything: odd jobs, night classes, failed startups, always just one step away from the success he dreamed of, and yet never quite there. Friends called him steady, people called him dependable, but Damian called himself stuck. On that rainy Thursday, soaked through in his thin jacket and staring at a rejection email on his phone, he felt more alone than ever. His dreams of leading a creative agency, one that supported underserved artists, were slipping through his fingers. Another investor had pulled out. Another door had closed. He was drained, tired of failing, tired of bouncing from one, almost, to another. That's when she walked in. Her name was Marina Sinclair, CEO, visionary, and someone whose presence filled the room before she even spoke. She swept into the small coffee shop like she owned every step she took, but her eyes were warm and curious, not cold or commanding like he'd imagined top executives would be. When she sat down at the table next to him, Damian didn't think twice. He asked for her help. He spilled out his story: the agency, the passion, the repeated heartbreak of doors slamming in his face. He spoke honestly, unguardedly, with the kind of raw vulnerability most people hide. Marina listened, not with polite attention, but with genuine interest. When he paused, she leaned forward. "That idea has merit," she said. "But you're missing one thing: direction." Damian blinked in disbelief. A CEO, someone of her stature, telling him that his idea had merit. Over the next week, Marina became an unlikely mentor. She taught him how to pitch with clarity, how to turn setbacks into pivots, and, perhaps most importantly, how to believe in his own worth as much as he believed in his dreams. But it wasn't easy. Marina's world was high pressure. Her company, a powerhouse in resilience consulting, had become the target of ruthless competitors who wanted to see her fail. With every breakthrough she helped Damian achieve, she was fighting her own battles behind closed doors: lawsuits, boardroom politics, backstabbing colleagues, skepticism from shareholders who didn't think a woman like her could lead anything meaningful. Damian saw the toll it took. He saw late nights in her eyes, the way she masked her doubts behind poised speeches, the exhaustion hidden under her expensive suits. He began to realize that success isn't only born of confidence, it's born of courage in the face of fear. There were moments of tension, too. When Damian's old insecurities resurfaced, the ones that whispered he wasn't worthy of his dreams or of Marina's attention, he pushed her away. He misread her tough advice as criticism, her encouragement as expectations he couldn't fill. For the first time in his life, he felt what it was like to be on emotional ground that didn't come with guarantees. Marina didn't give up on him. Not because she had to, but because she saw something in him he had long forgotten about himself. The turning point came on a cold Monday morning when Damian's fledgling agency was invited to present in front of major investors. He was nervous, unpolished, unrefined, but ready. And as he stood at the podium, looking out at a sea of unfamiliar faces, he spotted Marina in the front row, smiling with quiet confidence. That day, Damian didn't just pitch his business idea, he pitched his heart. He spoke about community, about uplifting artists who told stories that mattered, about creating a company that wasn't just profitable, but purposeful. The room was silent, and then the applause came. Not loud, not overwhelming, but steady and sincere. Offers followed, invitations followed, doors opened, and after the meeting, in the hallway where sunshine streamed through the glass windows, Damian turned to Marina and said, "I couldn't have done this without you." She didn't smile like someone who'd been his rescue. She smiled like someone who had always known he'd find his strength. He just needed someone to reflect it back to him. "You did this yourself," she replied. "I just helped you remember who you already were." In the weeks that followed, the agency grew, slowly, but with unwavering purpose. Damian learned what it meant to lead not by dominance, but by empathy. He honored his team, listened deeply, and made room for others who had once felt alone in their dreams, just like he had. Marina and Damian remained close, not romantically, not in the way movies might portray, but as two leaders who understood one another on the most human level possible. They were allies, champions of each other's best selves. Years later, when Damien's agency became a beacon for change and empowerment, he spoke at events about the CEO who changed his life, not by fixing it, but by believing in his potential before he could. He reminded audiences that success isn't a title, it isn't wealth, and it isn't fame, it's having the courage to show up, the bravery to grow, and the humility to accept help when you need it most. And as Marina watched from the audience, proud and quiet, she knew this: life's greatest impact often comes from moments of connection that defy logic, status, and expectation. Sometimes, the person who changes your life forever is the one who helps you see your own future first. If you want, I can also help with a video script version with timestamps for narration, visuals, and scene direction.